NBA player props here on PrizePicks for Thursday, March 16th. Before I get started, there's a link in the description below to sign up for PrizePicks, or you can use promo code TUFF to sign up. PrizePicks will match 100% of your first deposit. There's a Discord link in the description where the main server is completely free. We also have that Patreon link where I post all the plays here that I'm making on PrizePicks for each given sport that I do play. Do need to mention, however, I'm not a gambling expert and this is not financial advice. These are simply just the plays I'm personally looking at making, hopefully giving you guys some insight and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. But let's get right into it, you guys. Thursday, March 16th, we have a smaller slate today. I believe only 5 games on the slate. We got obviously the NCAA tournament starting today, so that should be super fun. But yeah, only 5 games on the slate today, so there is not a ton of value on the board here, but I got 2 plays that I do like for this video. Yeah, let's not waste any time, you guys. Let's just get right to it. The first play is going to be an NBA first half prop. It's going to be actually one of our wagons, honestly. It's going to be Jokic over 22.5 PRA in the first half against Detroit. Now, just taking a look at the last 5, he's only hit this twice over his last 5, but his 2 overs were in some pretty solid matchups against Brooklyn and San Antonio, where he had 34 and 37, and then 17, 20, and 16. But what I like about this play right off the bat is that the Nuggets have lost 4 in a row. They've lost 4 straight games here. Their MVP, Jokic, I guess, hasn't been playing as aggressive as, people would assume an MVP candidate would be playing, especially after losing 4 in a row. There's a massive 14-point spread here in this game, you guys. Massive 14-point spread, which is why I'm taking the first half play here to, mitigate the risk of a possible blowout here. But Jokic first half PRA game log, this has been a wagon pretty much all season. You can look at the hit rate, right? 23, 1, 2, 3, 7. So 18 of his last 25 games in the first half, he has hit the over on this. His first half averages this season, he averages in 61 games in the first half, 12.5 points per game, 6.3. So that's 18.8 plus 5. So he's averaging around 24 PRA in the first half on the season here. But really just an elite matchup against the Pistons. He faced the Pistons earlier this season at home, way back in November actually, and had 30 PRA in that matchup, 16-7 and 7 in 18 minutes. Really just was able to dominate the Pistons all across the board here. We can see here centers against the Pistons, PRA game log. None of these players are obviously Jokic, especially in their role in the offense. Jokic comes down the court and touches the ball pretty much every time. But Ayton, 30 PRA, Jared Allen, 23 PRA, Mobley, 18, Jakob Poeltl, 17. So, you can see some of these guys, right? You can see the names, and you can see their usage and their skill set in the offense. And you can see the success that they've had in the first half as far as PRA goes against the Pistons. The Pistons also allow the second most points in the paint in the NBA at 54.8 points in the paint to the or just in the paint in general. And I believe if we take a look at to the center position over the last 15, or maybe let's take a look at the last 30, Detroit giving up the 6th most fantasy points to the center position, which, just overall, comparing it to PRA, just is the overall production to the center position. They do give up a ton of just production overall. And then the Pistons are really banged up. Wiseman, we know defensively cannot guard Jokic, just like straight up. Stewart is out, and so is Bagley. We know Wiseman cannot guard Jokic at all. Wiseman probably, when he's on the court, one of the worst defensive centers in the NBA here. And then Jokic's full game PRA over 44.5 is at -131 on Caesars, which gives us good odds for his first half. And then obviously it's at 45.5 on some sports books as well, which again we would get a discount here at 22.5. On PrizePicks for the first half play here. So I like this play here from Jokic. I think first half is obviously the move, considering the spread here in this game. But coming off 4 straight losses, you guys, is Murray questionable or probable? Yeah, Murray's probable here. But coming off 4 straight, that was the MVP here against one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. I do expect Jokic to be able to come out and dominate. And then the second play here that I'm targeting is going to be an NBA full game prop, and it's going to be actually one that I've just been loving lately. It's going to be Dinwiddie over 8.5 assists here. Now, 8.5 assists for any player is a lot. 8.5 assists to get 9 assists in the NBA game is a task for any player, right? But Dinwiddie is over this line in 3 of his last 3 games, more specifically 11, 16, and 11 assists for Spencer Dinwiddie. If we take a look at kind of since coming to the Brooklyn Nets, right? What is this? Probably been like 15 games, close to 15 games. He's had his assist rate has been like 8, 8, 10, 8, 8, 4, 11, 16, 11, and 16. Over his last 3 games, more specifically, Dinwiddie is averaging 21 potential assists and averaging 12.7 assists on that, but 21 potential assists over his last 3. Like, to average 21 potential assists over 3 games, that's very, very significant here. Taking a look at the odds, this is listed at 9.5 on some sports books. You guys, FanDuel has this at 9.5. It's on DraftKings at -130. Caesars at -133 at over 8.5. Some point guards recent game log against the Kings: 19, 16 for Chris Paul. Westbrook had 14. Kyrie had 10. Westbrook had 10. Drew Holiday at 8. So you can see here, I mean, the Kings obviously play at a super fast pace. Over the last, let's take a look at this. Over the last 30 games, the Kings, or I think it's last 15. Over the last 15, the Kings giving up the 3rd most assists to point guards. 3rd most assists over the last 15. Over the last 7, they're sitting here, in the top 10. And then obviously over the last, on the season, the Kings up here, 5th most assists to the point guard position as well. Both these teams over the last 10 games, really since the Nets made those trades, you can see here over the last 10 games, Kings number 1 in pace and Brooklyn Nets number 5 in pace. So 2 top 5 teams in pace here. And Spencer Dinwiddie here playing at home at 2-point spread with a massive 238 over-under here. The highest over-under, or I guess tied with this one. But a 238 over-under here should be a ton of scoring opportunities here for Spencer Dinwiddie. He's going to play 38-plus minutes. He does have the highest usage on the team since the trade deadline. So he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's going to have a ton of usage. He's going to have the ball in his hands a ton here. Again, Kings giving up 3rd most assists over the last 15 games. 2 top 5 teams over the last 10 games. Massive over-under here. Dinwiddie, 21 potential assists over his last 3 games as well. Love these 2 plays here. Jokic over 22.5 PRA in the first half, and Spencer Dinwiddie over 8.5 assists full game. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these 2 plays. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.